you take your seat, if you please raise your right hand, my clerk will swear you in. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm currently retired.
Have you had were you previously employed at GRPD?
Yes,
And that's the Grand Rapids Police Department?
that's correct.
And since you left the Grand Rapids Police Department, have you had a haircut since then?
No, I have not.
And while you were employed there, what was your position?
I started out as a patrol officer on night shift and worked for 28 years on the street as a patrol function, and the last several years as a supervisor on patrol.
And can you briefly describe what your duties and responsibilities were around the time of April 4th of 2022?
Yeah, that was a day I actually came in on overtime. They were short-staffed and were asking for volunteers to come in and work. And I was assigned to the East Service area as a supervisor.
Can you describe what the East Service area is?
It's one of the geographic areas that Grand Rapids is divided up into teams cover. So the East Service area is generally from Cottage Grove, which is just south of Hall Street, and it runs all the way south to 44th Street out by Kalamazoo. And then east-west boundaries are from Clyde Park all the way out past the East Belt Line to East Paris.
And I think you had mentioned that at that time you were working overtime because they were short-staffed.
Yeah, the week prior, at the shift that I work, announcement was made that they needed volunteers to come in and work that day.
Okay. How many people were usually assigned to the East Service area?
That service area is usually assigned 7 to 8 officers and then 1 supervisor.
And how many officers were assigned on April 4th of 2022?
I believe at the time of this incident, I think there was either 3 or 4 officers and then myself.
Okay. And as part of your duties as a supervisor, can you explain a little more what your duties were?
So I would respond to major incidents. I wouldn't go to some of the, I guess, standard type of calls that come out, but anything involving like felonies and that sort of thing. And then to supervise those scenes as well as review officers' reports.
Okay, and that day were you in the field?
Yes.
Okay. And in your experience as a Grand Rapids police officer, were you ever involved in tense, rapidly evolving, like hand-to-hand use of force situations?
Yeah, I worked the entire 28 years on patrol. So, I mean, if I averaged only 4 a year, it'd put me well over 100, I think.
So I want to go back to April 4th, which Monday, April 4th of 2022. You mentioned that you were working that day. What time did your shift start?
My shift started at 6:30 a.m.
Okay. And before this incident occurred, which was, I guess, between 8 and 8:15, where were you?
I was at the parking lot of the Croc Center at Division in Alger.
Approximately how far away is that from where the incident occurred?
It's 8 city blocks for a mile. I guess it's probably about 3 miles, maybe 2-3 miles.
How long did it take you, I guess from the time that you heard Officer Schurr calling out the traffic stop, how long approximately would it take you to get there to?
Between 2 and 3 minutes, I believe.
And do you recall hearing Officer Schurr call in a traffic stop?
Yes.
And when you hear someone call out a traffic stop, what is the common practice at GRPD?
If you're available, you would slide by or start heading that way until we know everything's safe and that there's no, I guess, every traffic stop's an unknown risk traffic stop.
And can you explain what you mean by unknown risk?
Sure. I was a field training officer for 24 years, and so we teach high-risk stops and unknown risk stops. An unknown risk stop, any stop is a potential threat. You don't know who's in the vehicle. Even if it's for speeding or what may seem just to be a traffic violation, we still have tactics that we employ to keep ourselves safe until the conclusion of the stop.
And so that you typically will have at least one person respond, even if help isn't explicitly requested?
Yes.
And when you were on your way to respond, once you heard Officer Schurr call out the traffic stop, what did you do?
At the time I was on a phone call from another officer. Also was the supervisor of our mounted unit team, and I was on a phone call with another officer that had a scheduling issue with that, and so I was at the point, I think, that Officer Schurr called out that he had somebody running. I ended that and responded code 1.
And can you explain to the jury what code 1 is?
That would be activating all the emergency equipment on the vehicle, like sirens, speed limit.
And you had mentioned you heard him say the second, or just say, "I've got one running." Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay. And did you hear Officer Schurr call out another command or request on the radio?
I did hear him ask to send more cars.
What did you interpret that to mean?
I could hear in the radio transmission sounds of like a struggle, heavy breathing, the I guess tone or inflection in his voice.
Can you describe what that tone was like?
Labored and I guess an excited, elevated tone, desperation.
And at that point, what did you do?
I was already going in that code 1 response. I think that was, I don't know if I was halfway there yet or something like that. I just continued as fast as I could to get there.
And do you know approximately how long after you heard Officer Schurr call out the initial traffic stop that you arrived on scene?
I think it was, again, somewhere between 2 or 3 minutes.
And that would have been potentially from when he called out the request that he had one running?
Yes.
Okay. And did you hear him give any other requests over the radio?
I just heard I was probably maybe 3 blocks from the scene or his location that he was at when I heard him get on the radio again, stating that he'd been in an officer-involved shooting.
And when you heard that, what was your initial response?
I was still had to make a couple more turns to pull up on scene, and I came around the corner and could see his cruiser and the suspect vehicle ahead of me. Another officer, Mott, and his partner, Officer Grace, arrived pretty much simultaneously with me at that point.
And what did you know when you arrived on scene?
Really, only what had been transmitted over the air, that there had been a foot pursuit, the sounds of some kind of struggle, and then Officer Schurr saying that he had been an officer-involved shooting. At that point, I didn't know who was the suspect, how many suspects, what their locations were, what kind of weapons were involved. There's more unknowns than knowns.
And what did that indicate to you?
For me, as a supervisor, even line officer arriving first on scene, our priority is to secure the scene and make sure there are no more threats to officers or the public in any way, and then render aid.
And when you arrived on scene, once you got out of your car, what did you observe?
Again, I think either Officer Grace or Officer Mott kind of ran up at the same time that I did. As I approached, I could see Officer Schurr off the side of the curb to my right as I was running up towards him. Looked like he was next to a tree or behind a tree. I still didn't know how many suspects there were. And Officer Schurr was either leaning on the tree or kind of hunched over, breathing hard and just pointing.
And what did that indicate to you?
That's where I should focus my attention.
And what did you observe about, or I guess have you worked with Officer Schurr before April 4th of 2022?
Only on a couple of occasions because we worked opposite rotations. So I did have one incident with Officer Schurr a couple months before that. We worked a sexual assault case together that we received awards for.
And when you saw Officer Schurr, what did you notice about him when you arrived?
Complete exhaustion. He was bent, like I said, he was sort of bent, hunched over. You hear him breathing. Even in his radio traffic as I was approaching, you can hear this breaths, gasping for air.
Okay. And what did that indicate to you?
That he'd reached his physical limit. It reminded me of at the end of an Olympic sprint race or something. You see the athletes afterwards with their hands on their knees, breathing hard.
And once you saw Officer Schurr, what did you do next?
He was on his feet at least, and I knew another officers that were closer to him would assist him. So I guess I turned my attention still to trying to secure the scene. I could see another occupant outside the vehicle, and I could see Mr. Lyoya on the grass off to the right.
And at that time, did you know who either of the parties were? Either Mr.
No.
Lyoya or the passenger of the
No.
vehicle? Okay. And were you wearing a body-worn camera at the time that you responded?
Yes, yep.
And was your body camera on when you responded?
Yeah, it was automatically activates when you activate the emergency equipment in the vehicle. As soon as you turn on your lights or your siren, your body cam is activated, as well as the in-car dash camera.
Okay. And have you reviewed the body-worn camera footage related to this incident on
Yes.
April 4th?
Yes.
Okay. And Your Honor, I would ask to publish Defendant's Exhibit EE, which has already been stipulated to, which is the body cam footage of Sergeant Johnston. Could you turn the lights down too, please? Thank you.
On your head. Turn around, face the car. Walk back towards us. Keep your hands on your head. Keep to the right. Keep to the right. Go to the right. The right. Now come back this way. Keep walking back. Keep coming back to me, partner.
Yes, one more.
Keep coming back to me. Ten more steps.
Pause it. Sorry, thank you. And for the record, this is at the 22-second mark of Defendant's Exhibit EE. Sergeant Johnston, I noticed that you have your firearm drawn. Can you explain why?
Well, again, with this an officer-involved shooting that's just occurred, again, I do not know what kind of weapons may be involved, who is in possession of them, who all may be in the vehicle. So it's just for protect myself if someone was to draw a weapon. The same reason we order them hands on their head. We don't want them reaching around the waistband or pockets where weapons may be. So we'll keep the hands in view the whole time.
Okay, and why were you ordering him to walk backwards towards you?
We would bring him back. In this position, puts us at a tactical advantage, and then we can secure that person and pat them down for a weapon. Make sure they're unarmed before we proceed with securing the rest of the scene. I can't let that person just be wandering around or get behind me and potentially attack me. Because again, I don't know where these threats might come from. A lot of unknowns.
Bob, can you play, please?
10 more steps. 10 more steps. Keep going. Okay, down to your knees right there. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands on your head. Down on your knees.
Put your hands behind your back, palms facing the air, bend over your waist. Do not look back.
Pause it again, please. So we're at 49 seconds of Exhibit EE. I noticed you were what seemed like kind of yelling at the individual who was getting out of the car. Why is that?
If you notice at the beginning of the video, I started giving him commands to move right, but he moved left several times, and so I'm just projecting my voice so he can hear me, and I guess to emphatically give those commands to gain compliance or obedience from them. So as quickly as I can, because I'm still, my ultimate goal still is to clear that car and then render first aid. So I need to get obedience quickly, make the scene safe as quick as I can in order to administer first aid.
And why did you order the passenger of the vehicle to be detained at this point?
Again, I still don't know what his involvement was in this incident, and I don't know if he has a gun in his sweatshirt or in his waistband or anything.
Okay. Bob, can you play, please?
I'm gonna move. I need one with coverage on the vehicle here. Is there anybody else in that vehicle? Okay, next car up. Anybody else in the car? Make yourself known now! Yep, we're gonna clear the car first.
At this point, I'm waiting for more officers. That's why there's a pause here. There's no backup yet. I'm just waiting for another officer because we go up in either a 2 or 3 man team to clear a vehicle, but nobody's available.
Okay. And why do you, I mean, when available, why do you typically want 2 or 3 people to clear a vehicle?
So you can cover multiple sides of the car. There's also, I guess, sometimes concerns even with surroundings too. So whenever there's a high-risk incident, there's people, some are focused on the car, one side of the car, the other side, and other people covering, you know, and again, I don't know how many people have fled from this car. I don't know if there's other potential suspects hiding between these houses or anything.
Okay. And that was stopped at 1 minute and 26 seconds. Bob, can you play, please?
Javon, Nick, you guys with him, you go clear the car from driver's side. We're gonna keep coming on here. Yeah. You're good. Who's good over here? You need. All right, you two go up and clear that car. I'll come with you.
16, bring in the impact and off the
And Bob, can you pause it here, please? And this is 1 minute and 51 seconds. I notice everyone has their firearms drawn at this point. Why?
Again, this is standard police training. That this is an unknown threat in this vehicle. For me, at the beginning of my career, Officer Scott Flahive from Grand Haven was killed going up on a car like this because somebody was hiding in the back seat and shot through the door at him. And we always will stop even behind that, called the C pillar, that block between the rear window and the back seat, and you sort of use that as a shield for yourself to even look in that back seat and make sure there's not somebody crouched down in there before you move forward and look in and move forward up to the driver's side or the driver door.
Okay, you can play.
Heading to the north, off of Warville. 1918, looks like you're coming in. investigation. I'm gonna roll it over.
Doors open on the other side. Can you see anything in there? Nope.
We're between 17, 26, and 17, 15.
Okay, that's right in front.
You have those two residents from the census.
They are from that side. I don't know.
And when you approached the car from behind, Bob, can you back up just a little bit? Sorry, I don't know the time mark, but if you could go back to as they were approaching the car from behind. A little further. Yeah. Or a little further back, sorry. All right, from here, I guess, go forward a little bit. Yeah, play it from here. Okay, if you stop it from here. I guess as you were approaching the car, could you tell how many people were inside or if anyone was
No,
inside?
I think it was a combination of, it was like rain and sleet, so cold on the outside of the car, and I don't know if it was from breathing occupants inside or it was like the window, back window particularly, was very obscured, like fogged up. And then with the reflection with the wet glass and rain, it was very difficult to see in there. At one point, I think, if you go for it, I think I even put the light on the end of my gun, like right up to the window, to try to get at least the back seat floorboards and that to light up, because I couldn't really tell through the back window.
Okay. And once you were done clearing, or I guess what happened next after you cleared the car?
At that point, we sort of rallied back, I think, near the cruiser and go around and then form a team to move up to where Mr. Lyoya is laying in the grass there. And again, I still don't know, we have a fear of this person could be playing possum, so to speak, or, if there's still a potential threat, even as we approach to render aid, if there's any kind of weapon present.
And when did you first become aware that there was Mr. Lyoya had possession of a taser?
At the point that I approach him, I think if you show the video further, we approach, and at first I see like a black angular object slightly, he's face down and sort of under where his left hip would be. I initially thought that was like the back corner of like a Glock handgun or something, but as I got closer I could tell that it was Officer Schurr's body camera that had apparently fallen off, and it was under, like halfway under Mr. Lyoya. And then I ended up grabbing Mr. Lyoya by his right arm to roll him towards me. And as I did that, then I could see the yellow taser under the right side where I pulled his arm out from.
Your Honor, permission to approach? And I am... Yeah. And I am showing him what's been previously marked as Defendant's Exhibit L4, which the parties have stipulated to. Sergeant Johnston, do you recognize this?
It appears to be a still picture of Officer Schurr's taser in the mud next to what I believe is Mr. Lyoya's hand.
And you had just described that when you found the taser, it was under Mr. Lyoya's body.
Yes.
Was this photo taken, I guess to your knowledge, was this photo taken after you had already rolled him over?
Yeah, when we originally came up to him, it was over top of it, so we didn't even see it until we rolled him over onto his back.
Okay. All right. One moment. All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
Sure, briefly, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I was asking if you're on vice, because usually vice officers kind of look like that, and you're just retired.
Retired, yes, sir.
Just want to go back to some of your statements that you made. The first thing you said is, you taught this when you were with Grand Rapids Police Department. You did some of the training for officers on traffic stops, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And one of the things you said was every traffic stop is an unknown risk.
That's correct.
You don't know what's in that car.
Yes, sir.
You don't know who's in that car. You have to
Yes.
answer out loud. I can see
Yes,
you.
sir.
And quite frankly, there's a lot of times with guns in cars in Grand Rapids. That when you were working, that was an issue.
Yes.
That was not uncommon to find a gun on a person in the car
No, not uncommon.
and between the seats in a car,
It's very common,
under the seat of a car,
even more common.
even more common. So, guns, and going back to some of your training, I've got some training records here. When you talk about training, did you train the recruits or are you training officers?
They go through what was labeled an in-house training through our training unit, and then once they're put out on the street, they enter the field training program, and they have officers that they're with a 4-week through different phases, and I was one of those field training officers.
But in terms of even the training, I think a lot of the training, when you train those people, they talk about, even when you start, is the danger of weapons in a car. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
That you have scenarios where you may have one person with a gun in the car or two people with a gun in a car, correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you're doing an unknown traffic stop, that's part of the unknown traffic stop is you basically approach every car that it could have a weapon in it. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
All right. And one of the things you said, and it kind of backs up did you have an opportunity to review your report?
Yes.
Okay, and I've highlighted some of the things in your report, and you kind of testified to this. My goal is to make the scene safe as quickly as possible so we could safely move forward or render aid. So you definitely want to render aid to Patrick, correct?
Yes, sir.
But without being attacked or shot by the subject standing outside the car. So you were worried about that?
Yeah, again, I don't know.
You have no idea?
All unknowns, yeah.
And even at that point in time, though, you at least had, 4 officers, because you said you responded 2 pulled up at the same time?
A 2-man unit, that was Officer Grace and Officer Mott. And then,
The defendant,
And then Officer Schurr was,
and then yourself.
yes.
So there's 4 officers, but you were still concerned, even with 4 officers at the scene, that you didn't know who was in that car.
Correct.
You didn't know who. Ame is his name. If the passenger was armed.
Yeah, we still have 2 suspects.
Sure.
Mr. Lyoya, that's on the ground. So, and then Officer Schurr is obviously out of commission because he's so exhausted. I wouldn't even consider him a usable asset at that point.
But there's at least 3 of you.
Yes.
So you clearly outnumber the passenger.
Yes.
But there still could be somebody in the car because you don't know.
Correct, sir.
And that's one of the things you said. And one of the problems was, even in your report, the rain and reflections on the car windows obscured my ability to see clearly inside the suspect vehicle.
Yes.
So that was an issue because it's a complete unknown in there. There could have been somebody else hiding.
Yes, sir.
And that's why you kind of go through all that we saw on your body cam.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. I have nothing further.
And Sergeant Johnston, I just have one question for you. You were asked about the passenger, but you weren't worried about the threat with him anymore because he immediately complied with your commands, right?
Well, once he's been secured, detained, and patted down, yeah, he's secured off to the side. But somebody's got to be keep custody of him, so that takes another officer out of, my available assets there, and I have to wait for more to respond to fill those positions.
And at that time, there were multiple. How many officers were on scene?
I don't even know because a lot of the activity was behind me. I could hear some sirens getting closer. At some point, I think Officer LaHeis and then Officer Sanders arrived. And those are the 2 that went up with me to clear the car.
And when you chase individuals, is it also common for them to be armed with weapons?
Yes, I've tackled several people that had guns on them.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Just one follow-up. I just want to make sure you're clear. She said, in her question, that one question was you weren't concerned about the person standing outside the car. But your statement, you said in your report, excuse me, the subject in the front yard without being attacked or shot by the subject standing outside the car. So when you initially showed up, there's a person standing outside the car, right?
Yeah, I don't understand what the discrepancy.
Well, that was her question. I just want to make sure.
Well, I think the point was that at what point was he no longer a threat, and that's why I explained.
Gotcha.
Not until he's secured. He is a threat until he's secured and patted down.
So that's what I'm saying. When you pull up and he's standing outside the car,
He's a potential threat. Yeah.
No further questions, Your Honor.
I don't see any hands raised on the jury. May this witness be excused? Ms. Hamilton?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
no objection, Your Honor.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor.